All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today we're looking at something, well, honestly, it's truly special. As eager students of literature, and really just students of life, we're going to explore how an absolute master storyteller took his own deep personal heartbreak and somehow transformed it into a warm, literary refuge for millions of us. We are, of course, talking about the incredible journey of Ruskin Bond.
There's a quote that says, Ruskin Bond turned his childhood experiences and love for nature into stories that people of all ages enjoy reading. And that perfectly captures what we're looking at today. We're going to see exactly how Bond took the raw and sometimes really painful materials of his early life, those deeply personal childhood memories, and crafted them into enduring comfort. It's almost like taking the cold, jagged stones of a harsh mountain peak and somehow using them to build a really warm, inviting fireplace.
Section 1. Storms in the Mountains, Early Years and Heartbreak.
So, born in the beautiful foothills of the Himalayas in Kasauli on May 19, 1934, Ruskin was the son of Aubrey Bond, an RAF officer, and Edith Cleric. He grew up in this lively household alongside his brother William and his sister Ellen. Now, spending those early years in places like Jamnagar and Shimla meant he was just constantly embraced by these breathtaking hills and incredible nature. And these majestic landscapes didn't just look pretty, they deeply, deeply inspired him, planting the absolute first seeds of his lifelong love for the natural world. But the warmth of those early years, it was short-lived. It was quickly replaced by a rapid, really tough succession of profound childhood losses. Think about this. At just 4 years old, his parents separate and his mother remarries. Then, when Ruskin is only 10, an absolutely devastating blow strikes. His father suddenly passes away from malaria in 1944. I mean, imagine being a young boy trying to navigate those massive, life-altering changes. It was a completely harsh time, kind of like sudden, freezing storms just sweeping out of nowhere right through the mountains of his childhood. Following that sudden shock of his father's passing, the 10-year-old Ruskin had to find a new home. He went to live with his grandmother in Dehradun. Now, obviously, the loss of his dad left this massive void in his life. But living with his grandmother, that gave him a vital, physical shelter during what was essentially a brutal emotional winter. It was actually the quiet comfort of his grandmother's home, deeply combined with those lingering, cherished memories of his father, that created the exact environment he needed. That's what drove him to seek solace in books, and it really shaped his earliest writing habits and this profound, deep-seated need for self-expression.
Section 2. Finding Shelter in Words, the Seeds of a Master Storyteller.
In the wake of all that undeniable harshness, the family separation and then his dad's sudden passing from malaria, a pretty amazing counterbalance started to emerge. His mother heavily encouraged him to dive into his studies. Education literally became his comforting refuge. She pushed him to look forward, and in doing so gave him the very tools he'd need to channel those raw childhood experiences into something truly beautiful, rather than just letting all that grief completely take over.
Guided by that push from his mother, Ruskin went to study at Bishop Cotton School in Shimla. And wow, this is where he really began to root himself. Picture a sturdy, absolutely unshakable pine tree clinging to the hillside. That was him. He excelled at writing, dominating school competitions, and he even took home the prestigious Hawley Literature Prize. These weren't just little academic gold stars either. These early victories were the very first signs of a master craftsman finally discovering his tools, right up until he completed his schooling there in 1952.
Section 3. A Distant Room, Seeking Identity in England.
So, after finishing school, Ruskin's journey pulls him all the way to England, where he stays with his aunt for 4 years. Now, living in London, literally thousands of miles away from the warmth of his beloved Indian hills, he enters this deep period of seeking his own identity. And how does he cope? He pours all those vibrant memories of India straight into his work. He starts writing his very first novel, The Room on the Roof. It's a partly autobiographical story about an Anglo-Indian boy named Rusty. By writing this, he was essentially finding a way back home through his own imagination. And then comes 1957. Guys, 1957 is a year to remember. This was the exact year The Room on the Roof won the John Llewellyn Rhys Prize. For context, that was a massive award given to young writers from across the Commonwealth. Winning that in 1957, that wasn't just a polite pat on the back. No way. That marked his absolute, undeniable arrival as a master storyteller. That young boy who had weathered those brutal mountain storms was now a fully recognized author.
Section 4. The Warmth We Keep. The Master's Enduring Comfort. This whole journey shows us exactly why Ruskin Bond is just so universally loved. He takes the simple, everyday beauty of nature, of ordinary people, children, and animals, and he writes about them with this incredibly calm, friendly style. His stories are so easy to read, yet they are just packed to the brim with warmth and genuine emotion. By taking the turbulent, painful beginnings of his childhood and passing them through this warm, comforting voice, he literally crafted an inviting world for all of us. Honestly, it's a masterclass in resilience. It shows us exactly how a painful past can be transformed into a comforting present. As we wrap up this explainer, I just want to leave you with something to chew on. We've seen how Bond turned his own personal heartbreak and those early childhood experiences into these simple, incredibly warm stories of nature and friendship. So I have to ask you, if Ruskin Bond could turn his early childhood loss into a comforting, warm refuge for millions of readers around the world, what beautiful story might be hiding in your own hardest memories? Thank you so much for exploring this amazing literary journey with me today. Keep seeking out the warmth in the stories all around you.